Gamshi Lakwan and Meshika Tawe, all my relations. Those are greetings in Kalapuya and Aztec, I believe.
Yes.
But I will be corrected if I'm wrong by our guest tonight. Welcome to DiversiTV Season 9. If you are just tuning in, DiversiTV is a weekly interview show broadcast from Lane Community College in Eugene. We talk about topics of diversity as defined by Lane Community College, which can mean a lot of different things, and we'll talk about what that means in just a little bit. Our mission, and we choose to accept it, is to illuminate everyday diversity issues and give the mic and the camera to those who don't always get it. And so to that end, we have an array of guests on, and this season proves to be quite interesting. And so just to get on with it, we are going to have tonight a Hispana Parlante perspective with Rosalia Marquez, the Multicultural Liaison for Springfield Public School District. Talking about the issue of diversity and desegregation within the schools. So I'm just giving you a kind of history there. In the American system, the educational system has always been seen as a way to gain the promise of freedom guaranteed by the Constitution. Now, even though the Founding Fathers did not mean that in the sense that the Iroquois nations meant of all my relations, that is, every human being and all the natural world present. That is, we the people did not mean all human beings present. It just meant a restricted few. The first public schools, then, were started by free African Americans in New York State, and they were open to all. So there weren't any issues about, we won't let these people in. Anybody could come in to those. So other school systems elsewhere in the country were of necessity then segregated. Oregon, of course, was segregated as a state by design, basically even forbidding free African Americans in other states in the United States from coming to the state of Oregon, as written in the Constitution. So the curriculum within the schools, what certainly people my age were raised with, and to some degree is still true, following what we in ethnic studies refer to as a Columbus discovered America curricular narrative. That is to say, nothing happened before 1492, and everything that happened after 1492 is written from a particular perspective. Others then were left out of the story, and other languages and other histories were also left out of the story. So we went from being a multilingual, multi-historical society here before 1492 to a monolingual English limited historical society. And this is definitely true of our 50th state, and hopefully I'll have a guest that talks about what it's like to be an educator in Hawaii. Recently, in the latter part of the 20th century, we've begun to act as if the diversity that's been here all along is a reality. So in addictions field, I also, in my other capacity as an employee of Lane Community College, I'm the Substance Abuse Prevention Coordinator. In addictions work, multicultural means race, culture, drug use, ability, different types of addictions other than drugs, and geography, and a whole range of things. And so that all those things will definitely change a person's, whether they start becoming addicted and their recovery from addictions. In education, multicultural is often a code word for non-whites. And I don't want to say minority because in the world, whites are the minority. And inside of a century, America will be majority non-white. So many school districts have funded positions to help with the, quote, problems of desegregation, even though officially we've been desegregated since Brown versus Board of Education, but of course we're quickly becoming resegregated. The Eugene School District funded a position after community activists acting around issues of racial harassment had a study done which recommended a full-time position to help, called variously equity specialists, minority community liaisons, or multicultural liaisons. Now all the major Eugene Springfield school districts have one or more such staff. Our guest tonight, speaking From a Hispana Parlante perspective, it's Rosalia Marquez.
Rosalia.
Rosalia. Thank you.
With an accent.
With an accent. The Multicultural Liaison with Springfield Public. Thank you for coming.
Well, it's a great honor for me to be here, Mark, especially because I admire you and my children admire you so much, and I watch your program. So therefore, there is a bond there. Una solidaridad de amor y de respeto. Solidarity of love and respect. Thank you for inviting me to your beautiful program.
As I would say in Hawaiian and Spanish, mahalo mucho.
Mahalo mucho. Okay.
Where are you from? Because people always ask us, like, we're not from Oregon. So, and I'm not.
Well, I'm not from Oregon. So, I was born in El Paso, Texas, and I was raised all my life in Chihuahua. My father, he was born in Spain, Jewish. And my mom, my beautiful mom, she was born in Mexico. So that makes me a Mexican. So I am Mexican.
How'd you come to Eugene?
Interesting.
We always have a story about that.
My second marriage, my ex-husband, wonderful man, not in my life, but father of my children, his family is here. And we were looking for a place to raise our children. What a better place than Eugene, because it was small and my kids can still play outside with their bicycles without being harassed, quote unquote.
Have you found that to be true?
No.
No, yeah, right. Like Hawaii is not a multicultural paradise, neither is Eugene Springfield.
Correct.
Why Hispana Parlante rather than, say, the Chicano, Mexicano, Latino, Hispanic, I sense there's a politic around that.
Well, let me explain something. When you grow up in Mexico, you are Mexican, yeah, but you are Hispano Parlante. And that's how you grew up understanding that you speak the Spanish of the Americas, as they say in Spain. When I used to live in Spain.
The Spanish of the Americas.
The Spanish of the Americas.
Okay.
So, therefore, when I lived in Spain, in Alhama de Almería in Spain, in the Costa del Sol, that's what they categorize me. Because labels they carry very quickly, especially when you don't speak the two Castilian.
Castilian, yes.
Which, it was spoken in my house because of my father, he was born and raised in Spain, and then he came.
Where?
Sevilla.
Oh,
Sevillano.
Okay. Isbila.
Sevilla.
Yeah.
So, and being from Spanish descent, he came after the war, and we heard, that language, and it was spoken besides Yiddish. Then my grandmother, when she was upset or she wanted to convey certain messages to my dad, because my house was divided.
Right, I bet.
Yes, of course. My mom Catholic. Shiva.
Wow. Okay. Católica and
Judía.
Julia.
Yeah. So, that my house was divided, and therefore, when my grandmother was in the house, my mother wasn't allowed in that part of the pavilion of the house.
Wow.
So I grew up with a very diverse background, as they would call it. Nowadays, we call it dysfunctional.
Well, kind of a house divided, because,
Yes.
somebody once told me, and I'll have to check this with my daughter who actually reads and speaks the language somewhat, Chinese.
Yes.
The Chinese word for trouble is two women under one roof. It's usually a mother and a daughter, but yeah, by marriage, that would still kind of be true.
In my house, it will be two chefs. I'm the chef,
Oh.
and I'm Queen Mother.
So, given because I teach ethnic studies, so I'm also aware, and as you are, and I would like you to talk about this. So this is one of those questions. During Limpieza de la Raza, Judea were expelled along with los moros y católicos or morenos. So, in other words, for those of you who don't speak that language, so it wasn't just limpieza de la raza literally means the purification of the race, which is what they refer to it in Spanish, what we refer to in English as the Spanish Inquisition.
Correct.
Okay? Which is not only the Jews get expelled, but also the Moors, and not just those two religions, but black Catholics.
Correct.
Okay? So it's not about race. Well, it is about race, but it's definitely not about religion as you would think about the expulsion of the Jews and the Moors. If you were Catholic and it's the Catholic Church that's doing this, they're expelling people because of their race. So here you are, all right, a Catholic, Catholic mom, a Jewish dad who's born in Spain. So I'm wondering, okay, when were Jews, after they got expelled, when were they allowed to come back? Obviously long enough for him to be born there.
Correct. Well, that's, as my father would say, la Inquisición nunca se acabó. The Inquisition never finished. You know, whether I'm in Spain or whether I'm in Mexico, we're still living the Inquisition. And answering your question, I guess that the way I was raised and the way I was taught, I learned to survive both beautiful cultures. Because I never really knew much of, not the hatred, I don't want to call it that, but I know it was. But my grandmother never talked, or it was an issue, a topic to be spoken in the house of what happened in the old, in the old country. It was like it was erased, and we needed to move forward because it was very painful.
Yes. Right.
So that's why my father said that the Inquisition kept, even though they left Spain. So I learned to survive both cultures and both beautiful religions, guilty of both. However, embrace them and learn to appreciate what the two beautiful religions brought into my life. I really never learned or knew very much of not being accepted as a Jew in Mexico. Actually, I couldn't participate in sports because I was a U.S. citizen.
Okay. Why?
Because I was a U.S. citizen. I went to a private school.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I wasn't a true Mexican. So there were several of us of Jewish descent that we weren't allowed. But we were very good. We were straight-A students, and when they wanted to show off the beautiful kids, the very talented, I guess where we were born, it didn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Because it was to carry the name of the school and the tradition of the school and the beautiful talents that the school had, because they were all kids from very prominent families. So I learned to recite poems and to speak publicly at the age of 6 because I was taught that. And to sit proper and all of that. But I never knew anything else because that's the way I was raised. When I came to the United States, I found out, boom, like a slap. You're Jewish? That way. You're Mexican? That way. Even to struggle in school because I needed to be, above everyone. And to get those grades to prove that the Mexican wasn't so bad at all. So that's to answer your question.
So I heard at least 3 languages in there, in your background. How many languages do you speak?
I used to speak them very fluently. I haven't practiced them. When I came to the United States, 9 of them.
9, okay.
Because the public schools, especially private schools, they teach you the languages that are spoken in my country. My country has 59 languages that are still being taught in the school districts.
58 languages taught in the school districts of the Republic of Mexico.
The Republic of Mexico has 58 native languages.
Okay.
And 29 that I know that the Secretary of Education, la Secretaría de Educación Pública, teaches the languages in those regions, which is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
It's now with the imperialism going on, everybody wants to learn English. Everyone wants to learn French. But
Pretty soon Chinese.
Nothing against it. But I think my beautiful country has so many beautiful things. It's such a beautiful country with so much richness of culture and languages that our own people haven't learned to acknowledge them and carry them with pride. I speak about my country because I love Mexico. Mexico has a lot to offer, even though we have gone to so many crises and so many precedents. And we're still standing strong, and we're still very rich and powerful. Due to the politics and due to the economic the economic system, people look at us like it's a very poor third world country. But we still have a lot of gold. Mm-hmm. We have
black gold too.
Black gold, yes.
Yeah.
The richness of the cacao, the cafe. We have all of those things that they don't speak about it in the upper part of the Americas, which is the USA. So, being that said, Mexico still is very rich and very beautiful, and we still have 58 beautiful languages and 29 being taught to this day to children in my country.
Well, how did you come to do the work that you do currently? I mean, generally, when we talked before you came on, so you've done work for Homeland Security.
Well, the Western University had a program that they were looking for someone who could train communities and embrace them, understanding their work. So I was very honored when I worked for them and did work for them. I enjoy training communities and understanding the work behind Homeland Security. How do I came to work with the Springfield Public Schools? I have to start from the beginning. We have a wonderful leader, and that is Nancy Golden. Her vision is so... It rompe las barreras y las fronteras, It's way beyond frontiers. My biggest admiration to my boss, Nancy Golden, and through her vision, she created the positions of multicultural. It was by pure luck, I guess. I applied for Thurston High School against a lot of people's wills. But I wanted to try to work in a rural school where predominantly was white. And I got the job. It was only for 90 days. And that's Originally, yes. I've been there for 5 years. So the match was good. It's like a marriage.
Why 90 days?
Because there was another liaison that she was on leave while she was finishing her master's degree.
Okay.
And when she came back, Ed Mendelson, which is the principal and supervisor, great man, I love Ed. And he wanted to keep me. And at that point in time, the other liaison was moving. So the transition was done smoothly. I kept, I developed the programs, and we're there. And I'm still there. And they gave me the opportunity to bring programs of leadership for kids and for a community that was growing very rapidly, and communities of color were moving into their neighborhoods. So I've been working with them, bringing programs and bringing wonderful people to speak to our kids. Because kids, and I say the students in a rural area, they're very hungry to learn about other ways of life that they haven't been exposed to. The generations and the mindset has been changed, even though the older generations still rule. They're very conservative, but the kids have become quite progressive because of their interactions of newer generations, newer ethnicities, and new ways of life and thinking and beliefs.
Yeah. How would you describe your duties then? I mean, you talked about programs. What do you mean by that?
Well, there's programs of leadership. One of them is my baby, as I call, which is the Study Circles on Diversity.
Okay.
And it's a program that we started October of 2005. That is run, the group or the circle is run by students. It's a student voice program to change the atmosphere in a rural school. And believe it or not, it's interesting when you have kids of different ethnicities, kids of poverty, whether they're white, black, blue, red, or green, they all sit on a circle and they're all one. Because what is said on the circle, it stays on the circle, and it's discussed in a circle, and it's not run by an adult. It's run by a peer. And the curriculum was done based on what was heard.
In the circle?
In the circle.
So generated there?
It generated there, and it's due to the problems that existed in a rural school, predominantly white.
Yes. Part of the, I don't know how you'd say it in Spanish, but the undercurrent leading up to the event that for which Thurston became known nationally.
Of course. The security behind it.
Well, yeah. Well, there's also conditions behind. So, for example, there was a African American kid who had grown up in that school district and the feeder schools, elementary school, middle school, and then high school, who had been racially harassed daily by the same kid throughout that, and basically had brought that to the principal's attention, right? And basically had nothing done according to the student. So different principal now.
Of course.
But that condition and those things had kind of gotten overshadowed by the whole shooting incident and the wounding and all that kind of stuff that happened behind that. So I'd often wondered what was happening in terms of that other issues, and so it's getting addressed, even though that kid probably has graduated, but the conditions would not have changed much unless somebody was actually doing some work to address them. So it sounds like that's bubbling up within the student body because the need is there and has always been there.
Well, Thurston High School, for the first time, had a Latino ambassador Darwin Cisneros. Migrant kid migrant education student from migrant families. And that's the first step. I'm not saying that there is no racism, there is no,
It is America.
It is America.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be the exception to the rule. Unfortunately, we had an incident 12 years ago that really kind of give an open door policy to unwanted behaviors, irrational, as you may want to call them, or ignorant, a lot of ignorance behind it, or anger, or basically just mental problems. I don't know how they would call it, but we have come a long ways. In 5 or 6 years, our school has a lot of Latinos. And the Latino families, they feel that Thurston is a very good school and a safe school for the kids. Well,
that speaks a lot.
That speaks a lot. Yes. When I was hired, they were, and I won't lie to you, and because I was talking about these numbers to the principal not too long ago. Altogether, minorities, there were 90. That includes all ethnicities. Now we have 300, 400.
In a school of?
1,600.
1,600, okay.
And some they have been self-identified. Some we know they're first or second generation. And some they are really afraid to really check that part of the ethnicity aspect.
Check the box, as
yes.
it were. Yes.
Because we haven't learned to, I guess, break the cycle of fear. Because then you feel you're not accepted. So Thurston is a great school, not because I am there, because we have made those changes, thanks to a lot of people that have stepped forward and embraced the programs that we have in place. We start the month in September with Hispanic Heritage Month. And then we continue in October, where we have not Octubre 12, October the 12th, Dia de la Raza, because that is in Mexico. We have a week of Native American culture. And then to start with Dia de Muertos. Dia de Muertos was never, ever in the history of public schools, let alone of Thurston, where I brought dancers. They will dance traditional dances offering to the departed ones. And now I have 3 or 4 schools that we do the exhibits, the Altar de Muertos.
Yeah.
So, and I can go on with the festivities of December, and then MLK, honoring Dr. King's legacy and his birthday. And we have an assembly. I started this, and it has continued, and I hope that if I ever leave the school, never to stop, because he opened the door for us. And we have to open the doors for those who are coming behind us.
Right, yes.
Because they're going to be the leaders, the doctors, the lawyers of the future. And I can tell you on and on of all the programs that I have. Great people, La juventud impone. You know? So those kids, I look forward every time that I go to Thurston, you know. It energizes me. When the kids call me, hey, Rosie, because I am not Mrs. So-and-so, I'm Rosie to the kids. Why? Because you work with young adults.
Yes, right.
And you have to speak their language. Otherwise, the message will never get across. And I have a lot of great people who
And
believe.
they respect you, even though.
Oh, they do respect.
Some old school people would, want you to, get a formal title, but it's an indicator of their trust that they're willing,
Yeah, and they look for me, and some of the kids, when they see me off school campus, they come and they hug me and they tell me that they love me. What great gift a student can give you when they embrace you and they tell you a simple phrase, I love you, 3 words.
These 3 words. Yes.
So I guess that job was designed for me. And it was waiting for me. I'm very honored to work for the Springfield Public and to be housed at Thurston, to have an office at Agnes Stewart, to have an office at Thurston Middle, to go to A3, which is our new alternative school, and have all the other schools that public. That's why it's called public.
How many multicultural liaisons are there in the district?
We have 3.
3, okay.
We have Gene Chisholm, which he's been with our system, with our school, I think 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And then Elenita Espinosa, we both came in at the same time, and she's on the other half of the school district. So 2 Mexicanas, dos Mexicanas, and Gene Chisholm, who's an Afro-American. So we're very blessed.
Yeah. So, are you pigeonholed into working with a particular set of people? Because what you've talked about in your programs doesn't sound like it.
No.
Yeah. But people would tend to do that.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. Oh, can you talk to this kid? Okay, yeah. Oh, let's put it this way. Yeah, he's not Latino. Multicultural, what does it mean? Multi-poly, cinco.
Oh, I thought it meant minorities, but you're working with white kids.
Of course, poverty. Everybody. I include everybody.
Poverty's a culture?
No, but you know what?
No, well, yes, it is. Well, in alcohol and drug, it is.
Yes. But again, it's the addictions that we have and the labels that they have created.
We are addicted to labels. That's for sure.
Very much so. Yeah. It's dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. Tell me who you hang out with and I tell you who you are. So is that an addiction? Is that a label? Yes, it is. So I work with everybody, even though they tend, a lot of people, because they think because I speak a language, I only deal with Latinos. I deal with everybody. Yeah. My job is public schools, everyone across the board. In my programs, everybody's invited. Everyone. I don't care who it is. The straight A and the kid who is GPA 1.8 or 0.8. The thing is, we're in the business of education, and our job is to get those kids ready for adulthood. So if the kid is doing poor, you have to sit down and you have to work with them, and you have to really embrace them and mold them and work with them and find ways that the kids can be successful, so the label will not be there for the rest of his life. Bad enough that we already have it.
Right.
But if you make them feel that they are worth something and that someone believes in them, they stay in school. And I have had kids, not just Latinos, everyone across the board, that they want to give up. Tiran la toalla, throw a towel. When they start in September as a freshman, by January they don't want to be in school. It's too hard, the pressure is a lot. So that's why we need to work with them. We went to school and I am very passionate on the things that I do. And my job is to get those kids from A to B and finally to C when they graduate. I already have seen my first generation of kids that I work with, and all the kids that were in my programs, they all graduated. And they're all at LCC. That's an achievement.
Yeah, it is.
So, and I cry because they were my first babies.
Oh, wait till their babies come. I mean, if you're there, but you know.
Well, you know, asegúrame la vida mañana, you know. So, you know, public schools. Yeah, we do carry labels, but it's not only in the public schools. It's everywhere. You know, everybody, when they look at me, says, "You're Cubana." Okay. You know, we're very honored.
But explain that and explain why. I can see why they would say that, but go ahead. Make that visible.
Okay. I said, okay, well, tell me, how does a Cubana look like? I said, I love Cubanos, and I, you know, I embrace them, and I have a lot of friends because they see me blonde, because I am very upfront in Echa pa adelante, how they say, and I'm not shy. I guess that's good or bad. That's how they see me, as someone who's Cubana. And I guess it's also, all women have curves.
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess I'm feisty.
Well, yeah, right. And the stereotypes that we have of different people. So, right. Cubanas, you know, pushy, right? You know, the stereotype of judeas.
Yeah.
You know? So, right. You come by it honest any way you want.
Right.
Are you in the classroom? Do you teach classes?
I don't teach, I guide.
Okay.
Because study circles, I tell them what the curriculum is, I explain it to them as a class, but they teach it to others. So it's not my baby, it's their baby.
Okay.
And the other one is community mediation. In community mediation, we talk about it. We discuss it, and people from community mediation, they come and they can say they teach, but actually it's a guidance.
You know, the very title, liaison,
Yes.
all right, speaks to the language of diplomacy. Like,
Correct.
okay, here's the district, here's this community, you're like the translator, the go-between. And
Let's put it internal affairs.
Right, internal affairs. Right. Okay, so when you talk about community mediation, you know,
Correct.
you're mediating a problem, and that's a problem-solving
Correct.
orientation.
Correct.
But that's still a position where it's like the community or certain sections of the community aren't part of the school.
Correct.
I mean, we're still working on that. I mean, like going back to the whole desegregation thing. Well, wait a minute. What happened to the one-room schoolhouse? What happened to the village school? What happened to La Maestra being part of the community, and you know, looked up to them because, you know, whether your parents were literate or not, I mean, teachers were respected.
Very much so.
Right? And so, I mean, that's one of the things that that I always found ironic about the stereotypical American objecting to the illegals. Well, wait a minute. Who are you calling illegal, Pilgrim? But, okay, beyond that.
Okay.
These folks are bringing family values.
Correct.
Okay? They're bringing respect for their elders.
Correct.
They're bringing a strong work ethic.
Correct.
They're bringing love for education and desire for education.
Moral.
Moral, right?
Okay.
And their kids are displaying that more than your kids are, and your kids are telling you to F off to your face.
Yeah.
So what part of you don't want them here makes sense in that context?
Well, we're in the 21st century.
Now we are in the 21st century.
the second decade, starting the second decade in a new century. Times have changed. There's a saying, las ciudades destruyen las costumbres destruyen las ciudades. Okay?
Which means?
Which means cities destroyed traditions and customs. And customs and traditions destroy cities. And this is
Wow.
And this is the new generation where our kids who didn't have the ability to grow up in a country that was ours to begin with. But it was divided by frontiers, by others, because of political reasons or power. So therefore, back then we became disposable because a lot of people came to the US of A or the New Americas, not by choice. They call it slavery. If it would happen today, they call it what?
Well, multinationals.
Multinationals.
Slavery has returned to...
No, we always have had slavery.
Yes,
And
okay,
we'll
right.
talk about it
Okay.
that. But people were brought to this country against their will from wherever country you came from. So that destroys las costumbres, that destroys the customs and the traditions. You know, whether they're Latinos or Mexicans or Hispanic or whether they're Native Americans, which they were completely destroyed from their land and kicked out of their land and murdered. And then we have the Africans or the Afro-Americans that were brought as slaves. I call them, they were kidnapped against their will. And then not only that, they wouldn't let them speak like they didn't with the other, their own languages, nor profess the tradition or their culture nor their religion that they brought. So out of all that, we have now the new generation of the new century where they have learned that. And they don't know why, but they haven't learned to appreciate what the beautiful culture and tradition has brought, because someone forgot to tell them that they need to love and embrace it and really build the seed of morale and respect. So they're afraid or they're embarrassed to be what they are, and they want to be the American dream. Nothing wrong with the American dream. Nothing wrong. Because, you know, we're a product of being educated. However, don't forget where you came from. And that's the problem.
Yeah. You know me. I can't let that go by.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a problem with the American dream.
Of course.
And the problem is, and I think it's exemplified by the educational system in your country.
Correct.
All right? So even though the conquistadors came, they didn't entirely wipe out Los Indios. And
Because they were smart
right.
and they kicked their behinds.
Well, yes, right. Because based on Los Indios getting together with the Africans and, you know, the non-Castilian,
Correct.
you know, right? They got the pure, right? They got together, they mixed cultures, and they fought back against the conquerors, right? And created a culture where, okay, you know, everybody's free.
Okay, yes.
Or less free to build something together. And so here you have in the educational system, all right, you've got 29 languages going.
Correct.
Okay? which was the norm before 1492, except it was thousands of languages.
Correct, but
Right?
then, okay, I don't want to go into that.
Well, let's not go there. But
Okay.
one of the things I point out,
Right.
because Africa today, even though there was colonialism from Europe, there's still 2,000 languages spoken. Okay, and it's still considered a measure of politeness to speak at least 5.
Correct.
Or 3.
Correct.
Right? Europe, at least 3. Right? Only America insists on monolingual. Oh, yeah. Right?
Uno.
Uno. Right?
Monolingual came later.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. What?
Bilingüe después.
Yes.
Bilingüe came later.
Right. And then, to the degree that is, well, we don't think.
And it wasn't necessarily Spanish, it was French.
Right. Right. So part of that dream, right, this country, this culture, 200 years old, right, and there's older cultures that have been around that understand the whole moral context of, okay, we need to get along.
Right.
Okay, we need to be more intelligent. We need to incorporate all our histories, good and bad, so we understand the mistakes of the past so that it won't make them again. So part of, I guess, let's get to that. What kind of challenges do you face?
No.
I know it's a broad question.
Of course, yeah. Challenges in what aspect, so I can answer one by one. First of all, the challenge of not, when you work at the capacity that I work, there's many challenges, many. The challenge of language, the challenge of culture, the challenge of integration, and the challenge of tradition behind all of the ones I just mentioned. So which one do you want?
Well, for example,
Let's go language.
Let's go language.
Because
Okay.
that's easy.
Why can't you become American, speak English, and be like,
Because
Right?
we haven't built the curriculums and we don't want to read the books that are out there with the real truth. That's why they have this wonderful book that I recommend for people to read. The Lies My Teacher Told Me.
the Lowen's book?
The Lowen's book.
Right, right. There's
You know-
always been a bigger story. So,
Of course.
Right.
But it's what fits the criteria. And we're in a country that if you don't fit the criteria, you're disposable.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, and I have to put this out just because, the stereotype of, Springfield and all that. Okay, the logger thing. All right. Look, the world has changed, so you can't have multiple generations who don't graduate high school and think that you're going to have a job in the woods. Not happening anymore.
No.
Okay? Warehouses sent your jobs to Indonesia.
But that was 30 years ago
Yeah, I
when they
know.
started
Yeah.
in Brazil and all of those places.
all over the place. So, okay, you're going to have to graduate high school, go to college, basically deal with a multicultural, multinational world.
Correct.
All right? Which means you're going to have to learn to mix with other folks. So that's now what being American is that we're having to compete on a global scale. And that means dealing with other folks, other cultures, not just your, unless you're going to be self-sufficient on your farm.
Which is totally good and dandy, but
If that's possible.
but the way first of all,
So that's one challenge. I mean,
but
why do we even need people like you in the schools, right? Well, I think most of the show demonstrated why that is.
well, and the importance of honoring other cultures, even the cultures that you have here in the United States, because being poor, they call it a culture. And it's sad because kids get ridiculized because if they're poor and they don't fit the criteria. According to if you go to a good school or if you go to a school, they're kids of very prominent families. It's sad. Yeah, the money buys you, all those wonderful things and gadgets and things that are cool in the eyes of a kid, and that's That's one of the things that our kids, and I can say for the Latino kids, the parents want them to have the cell phones, the cars, all of the things that they didn't have, and what they're creating, it's a monster.
It is a monster.
Because they want the kids to be so much what they're not. And they don't speak to them about the traditions in our culture. You know, my kids, they never visit Mexico, and they know about the Aztec dancers, about all of these things, and I never visit. And I have children, they came, desempaquetados, you know, you just came from Mexico, and you talk to them about the La Conquista, you talk to them about the language that is spoken. You talk to them about traditions. You talk to them about Dia de Muertos. They don't even know. Some of them, they're so embarrassed to talk about. I have children that are embarrassed to be of native descent from their country. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Because you see them, and you know, they tell them, mira, lleva el nopal puerto en la cara.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
The cactus is there in their face. But they don't want to be there. They don't want to be Mexicanos.
Right.
They don't want to be Centro Sudamericanos. What? They become involved with gangs because they want to have an identity. They don't want to go to school when school here is free. And everybody, you know, you can get an education if you use your brain. And because of those kids who don't want to go be in school, who want to be into problems, those are the bad kids, as they will put us in the melting pot and not acknowledging the kids that are really, they're here, they arrive, they graduate, and they continue higher education. I have kids in here. They've been here for 3 or 4 years. They're no longer taking English as a second language. And the kids that have been here since first grade, they still take English as a second language in the 9th grade.
Wow.
And we have the kids from Mexico. They've been here 3 or 4 years. They graduate. They're there. They're in regular classes. Their GPA is very good. The only thing, they don't have the 11-digit number so they can continue to a higher education.
Okay.
And that is sad. This is U.S. citizens.
Okay, so the U.S. citizens are actually behind.
Yes.
Right. And that parallels actually some of the black experience too, where we have people from the Caribbean,
yes,
Africa, etc., who excel more than Americans. I mean, one of the things that kind of shocks me, I just heard this. So my colleague Greg Evans teaches at another college here, and he was basically talking about the war on poverty, and he mentioned LBJ, and then said about Lyndon Baines Johnson, and the students said, "Who?" And he looked at, "Who? The President of the United States after Kennedy?" And wait, how does an American college student not know a president?
It's easy.
Oh, well, okay. So, wait, you got cell phones, you got Google, well, okay. So I can understand Indian native kids from Mexico not wanting to have the cactus in the face, as you say, right? Not being proud of being indigenous, but American kids not knowing American president from a school system?
But it happens in all the ethnicities.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk to some of the kids, they get here from Mexico and they already have a secundaria and first year of preparatoria, which is in some English. They know what the teachers are talking about. When they raise their hand and says what you're saying is incorrect, they get punished. And this is kids who are educated in a public system.
Right.
So it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Ignorance is everywhere.
So I guess beginning to wrap up, because we're getting close to the end of the hour. How do you teach kids to find the strength to be able to stand up, to speak the truth, and to be leaders?
I work with them and I tell them the beauty behind their culture and make them aware. They don't want to, I get them involved. And I talk to them. And I talk to the parents. And I said, you don't give your kids the phones and all of that. That's not going to make them an American. That's going to make them behind. You teach them. My job is education.
Yes.
Our job is to get those kids from A to B to C and to become the leaders of tomorrow. And if we are not conveying that kind of information and be adamant about it, to tell them how important it is to be educated in the US of A, then there's something wrong. Education is free in the United States, and you become free when you're educated. That's your freedom.
Yeah. We'll have to leave it there. I want to thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. It's a great honor.
If you like what you've seen, tell a friend and email liveclass@lanecc.edu. Put DiversiTV in the subject line. If you really like what you've seen, you could also email the administration of the college, because this may be our second to last season because the television station may be going away. So if you like what you've seen, we would like to continue. From Lane Community College, this has been DiversiTV. Go well, stay well.